So hi everyone, today I would be giving you some information on user acceptance testing. So this is a very basic set of information. So for users who are new to user acceptance testing, here is a little bit of information. So basically user acceptance testing, also known as UAT, it's a process performed to test and see whether a software product meets the business requirements. So only when this UAT process is cleared and signed off as defect free by the team, only then can the product be moved to the production. So the system is tested and evaluated in real life scenarios from the end user's point of view. So whoever is going to be the end user of the system, or whoever is purchased the software, they are the users who would be performing UAT in order to check and evaluate whether the requirements are as per what was given. So why user acceptance testing is important. So you might be wondering, there is the process. If you see the SDLC cycle, you have the software development, and then you have the quality assurance, and then you have the UAT process, and then you have the final process of production. So here if you see, you must be wondering, why should there be a UAT when there's already a quality assurance phase? So if you see here, there are 3 points why you should have UAT. So the first one is to ensure the software products meet the business requirements. So ensuring that the software product meets the business requirements is not only done by the product team, but it's also done by the end users. So therefore, it's going to be a double side check off as to the requirements which are given to the product team is well executed, and that's the requirements that the client has asked for. So this is going to be a two sides check, and especially from the user point of view or the end user's point of view. So they would ensure that the software product that they had given meets the business requirements. The second one is conflict. You avoid conflicts after production. So in order to avoid conflicts after production, a UAT is done. Generally, when you see, changes before production is less costly when compared to post-production, because things done after production is always gone into the public, or it's gone into the end user's hands. So at that time, you would never want to give a half-baked product, or you won't want to give a very buggy product, or a product with a large set of defects. So that's why it's always good to manage changes before production instead of managing changes after the production phase. Also, another thing could be, if business requirements are not evaluated before production, after production the user might come and ask you for certain requirements that wouldn't have been taken into consideration by the product team, or it also might be certain requirements that would have been missed out from either the user's point of view or from the product user's point of view. So in order to avoid these type of conflicts after or post production, it's always good to run a UAT so that these type of conflicts can be resolved before production. And the third one is to avoid brand reputation damages. So if you look over here, it's either the product team or the client side, they have a software that's in hand. So if you look from the product team, delivering a defected product would be a damage to the company's reputation. And also, if the client is going to give it out to users to access their, maybe it can be a website or a product, then the client's users also would have a very bad opinion on the client's product. So there's also a damage to the client's reputation. So in order to avoid these damages to reputations, always it's good to run a UAT so that both sides have well evaluated the requirements and everything is checked off before production. So these are some reasons why you should run a UAT. The next one is, there are certain prerequisites that need to be met before a UAT is performed. So the first one is, the business requirements list must be available. So always when you run a UAT, the end users need to know what are the set of business requirements that were incorporated into the system. So it's always good to have a set of business requirements list documented and kept. The next one is, the application of the software must have been fully developed. So you can never run a UAT unless a set of requirements or features are being developed for a particular release, or it can be for the entire product. So only when all the features are properly implemented and developed, only then can it be sent for a UAT. Half-baked products will never be entertained during a UAT. The next one is the system should be defect free. So as I said, it's not important that you try to include n number of features into your product and then you have the same number of bugs. It makes no sense. So it's always good to have a few features. Even if it's a few features in hand, the few features need to work perfectly. So that's the ideal essence of a good product and software. So always when you deliver your product for user acceptance testing, make sure that the product should be defect free. And only cosmetic or design errors can be accepted during a UAT. So usually clients, they might not be very well, focused on maybe there would be certain clients focused on the cosmetics, but imagine having a set of functionality defects whereas cosmetic defects both have a variation in their weightage and how much of priority needs to be given to these set of defects. So only in rare cases cosmetic or design errors or changes might be accepted during a UAT, but when it comes to functionality, it's always a no. The next one is ensure that unit testing, integration testing and system testing is already completed. So user acceptance testing is always has to be done after these sets of testing. So you cannot be giving the user bits and pieces of your software to conduct a user acceptance testing. The entire system needs to be has to go through a unit testing. The system also has to go through an integration testing where all the different modules are integrated, and also system testing also has to be performed, and the product needs to be given as a single product to the user and not module wise. So that's why they always say go on for unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and then move on to user acceptance testing. The next one is UAT environment must be always ready. So the UAT environment needs to be ready, and when I say the UAT environment, it has to be similar to your production environment. There should not be any compromises in your environment. The end users need to have the feel of working with a real-time production environment without any compromises. So always make sure your UAT environment is always the exact replica of your production environment, which works well for the end users. The next one is all test scenarios and test cases needs to be documented and kept ready. So the test scenarios and test cases of your product needs to be documented, and there might be various users who might be documenting these test case scenarios and the test cases. It can either be the internal stakeholders or it can be the requirement owners and authors. So people who are very well linked to these requirements, they would be jotting down the test scenarios and the test cases, and also that would be handed over to the testing team. The last one is quality assurance team should have signed off that system is ready for UAT. So unless the quality assurance team signs off and gives the okay and the go for UAT, unless that is done, the system cannot be moved to a UAT. So once the go is given by the quality assurance team, then move it on to UAT. So when it comes on to the testing team, the user acceptance testing team, the testing team is comprised of real world end users or users who are not part of the development or the quality assurance phases. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not the people of your, who have developed the product or who have already tested the product. It's actually the end users or the customers who wanted that particular product in order to solve certain of their manual work that they would have been doing in order to execute certain functions. So it's the end users who are going to perform this testing. So when we say the end users, they comprise of the SMEs or the end users of the software. So imagine you're building a product and then you want to evaluate the product whether it satisfies that particular set of users requirements. So in case I'm developing a sales software which has a lot of sales functions and processes, in order to evaluate that every function and process is as per the sales team's requirements and it's solving the sales team's problems, then I should be giving it to those particular SMEs, who are also called as SME, the sales team are also called as subject matter experts for the sales domain. So I would be giving it to them so that they would have the exact knowledge in order to perform that particular testing and to evaluate if the requirements were met or not. So giving a particular product to users who do not have any knowledge about it can also be a scenario where the users might not capture every functionality or would have a large learning curve and would not know anything about the product. So it's usually the end users who are going to use the product, or it's the SMEs who would be performing UAT to evaluate the system and its performance as per the business requirements. So this is a little information about user acceptance testing, and I hope this information was a little useful to you. So if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel, and please also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.